can you give me an example of any familiar situation where somebody can find themselves in? Catching a taxi, asking a boss for promotion, asking your kids to clean up the room, something like that. Can you think of an example of this situation?
Paperwork in a government office to I don't know, renew a very an ID, something like that, something like that. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So let's say we have a protagonist who needs to renew ID or get some kind of paperwork. What is the range of expectations? How would you define what is expected here?
Well, if that person already scheduled a meeting within the office, that person has to bring some paper, some identification, pick the number, be in a waiting room, expect for being called, sit down with the assistant and asking questions, the assistant writing stuff in the computer, and then they sort out the thing, and she gets the ID or the car or whatever, the paperwork renewed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the negative expectation within the range of expectation, what could that be?
She forgot one of the papers, or one of the things that she had to bring was updated, or what she needed something else that they didn't ask, or something new. You have to go to this office and ask for this requirement that you don't have right now. But I was waiting for a week or two months for this, because with this paper I'm going to apply to a trip. I don't know. Sometimes no, but we can don't do nothing about that. The bureaucracy, paperwork.
Exactly. So the negative expectation within the possible range of expectations, something we could look ahead and predict, is that this visit is not the last one, that what we wanted to do here is not going to happen right away because there's some kind of bureaucratic problem that needs to be solved before, right? Some obstacle. So essentially there's an obstacle in the way of getting something that the character wants. It's a simplest thing, but it cannot be achieved because of the obstacle, right? So and then what would be entirely outside of the range of expectations? What would actually be the plot twist in this case? How would you imagine what could be here?
A blackout. A blackout. Electricity, no electricity in the whole city. So.
Perfect. And how can you amplify it? How can you make it bigger?
So computers don't work, photocopies don't work, elevators don't work. Oh, elevator! When she goes from one place to another, she's trapped in the elevator in the blackout.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. That is the plot twist. So the way plot twist works, it becomes more personal for the protagonist. When she is trapped in the elevator because of the blackout, it's much more interesting if there's just the blackout. Okay, so that's one of the ways of doing a legitimate plot twist. The other thing would be raise the stakes, make the stakes higher for whatever reason. So all of a sudden, there are some monsters lurking in that office, and it's a life or death situation. For whatever reason. What other life or death situation could there be if there's that could occur in the government office instead of getting the ID or not getting the ID?
But keeping it in the range of realism, or
no? Well, in the range of realistic, not necessarily. It's up to you. It depends on what kind of genre you want. It could be alien invasion all of a sudden. But you decide. You are the god.
Maybe the blackout was caused by a alien at the beginning of an alien invasion, or a very big EMP from a terrorist organization, and because she's in the middle of a governmental building zone, so the actual target is the next building, but she gets in the middle of everybody there gets in the middle of the crossfire, or something like that.
Exactly. They could be taken hostage, for example, all of a sudden, because that government building is being taken hostage. They they could be in the middle of the anti-government coup, and all of a sudden the government institutions that are responsible for giving the ideas are the first ones being attacked by the insurrectionists, because it's important to have the government offices occupied.
Yeah, but she and like four more people, they are in the elevator. They spend some time in the elevator in the dark, well, with the emergency light, but then they're rescued. There's still no light, but the people who rescued the persons in the elevator are actually part of the terrorists.
Awesome.
Because they took they took the building, and then you have we are rescued finally. I can get out of here now, but they are armed. They are with the covered faces, and that's another plot.
Or it could be, if we're going into a science fiction realm, the light comes back and all of a sudden they discover themselves in the future, and they don't know how they missed a year, but they not wake up, but when the light comes out, it's a year later. And nobody notices it except for our protagonist, because she was just trying to get the ID for 2021, but all of a sudden in 2022, and there's no explanation for what happened in between. There was just a blackout. Or if we go back to perfectly realistic thing, let's say that our protagonist is in the bureaucratic office trying to get an ID, for example, and it's finally her turn. She comes and offers her documents, and the person who is working the computers, the government clerk, is checking the documents. Tell her, just one moment, give me a second, I'll be right back. Walks away, comes back. All of a sudden the police shows up and arrests our protagonist, because the government office clerk reported her to the police, and she is being on the most wanted list for some kind of criminal activity, and she has no idea what is going on, but in the computer she is registered as a person who is being wanted by federal services. So that's how she was identified, because that information about her or him was in the computer, and that's how the government clerk called the police. And that's a mystery, because our protagonist is perfectly innocent, and yet it's being targeted by the government as a terrorist, maybe. So that's a plot twist that is outside of the range of expected. And now you will notice that that plot twist is, it comes with the embedded future of the story. Now we need to investigate, now we need to find out. Now our protagonist needs to free herself somehow and find who is responsible for all of that. So plot twists have these useful things happening. It could be even from that situation, with a false premise and disproof, we could continue and coming up with multiple possible additional things. So we suddenly reveal. Go ahead.
That she's missing one paper that she didn't know, that then the clerk sent her to another office, in another building. When she gets there and she's let in, she's kidnapped. So she was, in this process, she was targeted because of some special qualities or characteristics or whatever. And this was just an operation, an operation of kidnapping.
Okay, great.
Or here's my example. Let's say that the government clerk tells her that she needed to bring the birth certificate, and she has, well, I don't have it anymore, I've lost it long time ago. So the government clerk says, sorry, I can't help you without the birth certificate. Go to the that such and such office and get yourself a duplicate of your birth certificate. So our protagonist goes there requesting a duplicate of her birth certificate, and the person giving her that document says, hey, that's funny, And our protagonist says, what's funny? It's like, looks like there had been another person born on the same day in the same hospital under the same name as yours. And looks like that person has the same parents. Do you know anything about it? Do you have a twin brother or sister? So all of a sudden there's this mystery. Or maybe she finds out that she was adopted and that her parents are not her parents. And she had no idea. And now all of a sudden she needs to find her own actual parents. And that happens, that's a plot twist. It's perfectly plausible within the given situation, but it's not something we would expect. And that sends the story into this new future direction towards the unknown future. So plenty of things to establish. And this pattern, false premise disproof, familiar situation and sudden unexpected direction that familiar situation is taking is very useful. Can you think of some other familiar situation?
Well, let's chop it down to a kid genre. Kids in a normal Saturday going in the 80s. Kids in the 80s, in the decade of the 80s, going out to play in the neighborhood soccer field or baseball field. To have a normal,
Okay.
as usual, every Saturday they play. But then something happens. I don't know, but okay, it's expected. They bring their gear. They plan who's going to play with whom. The teams. They start playing. They mess with each other. They joke. They run. But then something happens. I don't know.
Okay, so fantastic. The good thing to do in situations like that, in familiar situations, is to right away establish a certain direction where the situation is headed, and that is usually best done through some kind of need when some of the characters has a goal already. So if you remember in examples from the previous webinar, one of my characters wanted to go to a bathroom and the other character wanted to catch a cab. So if we establish that there's a football game going on and one of the characters that we root for, he really wants to win that football game. Something is important at stake. Like he's a kid and his father promised, if you score a goal, I'm going to buy you a bicycle or something like that. So our kid really wants to win that bicycle, and he really tries. He's ready to becomes unstoppable at that game in order to score a goal. So there is a certain purpose to that scene. There's some kind of direction that is established. So what we expect is one of those things. Either he manages to score a goal or win a bicycle, or he doesn't manage to score a goal and win a bicycle. But in any case, we expect some kind of outcome related to that particular range of expectations. So how would we deliver a disproof of that range of expectations? How would we make something entirely different happen? Do you have any ideas?
Okay, let's see. The whole family is in the family is around watching the game as every Saturday. Well, I'm thinking of a surprise, like they invited a superstar, a sports superstar in the game, and none of the kids expected the superstar to be there, like the best player of some of the team. I don't know, and that changes completely the tone of that Saturday game.
Awesome. So here's my version of the same thing that you just came up with. So that kid is playing and he does not score a goal. He fails. He's relentless on the field, but for whatever reason he misses. And his father would be disappointed that the kid kind of cries. And then he's alone somewhere in the locker room, somewhere hiding. And then he hears the footsteps. And the late great Diego Maradona is in front of him, and we realize it's a story about how that Maradona, he was actually secretly watching that game, and every now and then he just hangs out there and watches young kids play, and he was so impressed by that guy who is playing, so he goes, listen, I have connections, I want to hook you up with somebody who can actually teach you. And that would be the plot twist.
I have a plot twist for you.
Okay.
Okay. Even though Maradona is dead, and I am in Buenos Aires, I am not Argentinian, and I don't like Maradona. I am Venezuela. That's a plot. Venezuelan. That's a plot twist for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
And I don't like football.
Okay,
I don't like football at all. I'm in the wrong country, but yeah.
I understand. Well, I am not into football at all, even though a lot of Russians are crazy about that. So I'm like completely indifferent to sports, to be honest. But as a plot twist, that's the most obvious one that comes to mind. And by the way, in that case, that would be the anastrophe type of plot twist. If you remember, something good happens. So anastrophe is when good things happen, and we make it plausible by making the kid fail. He didn't score the goal, but Maradona still enjoyed the game, and he thinks that the kid is talented. It doesn't matter. You don't always have to score a goal to be a great player, and that becomes the theme of the story. And we then continue pursuing this theme that you don't have to necessarily score the goal to be a great player. You don't. It's awesome if you do, but you can be great even if you don't have this obvious in-your-face success. You can be, great in some other way. So that's a good example, actually.
Anastrophe is the upturn.
upturn. Anastrophe is upturn.
Okay.
Also, we can have something else entirely. We can, for example, show that our protagonist actually manages to score the goal. He's so great, he just, goal after goal, he actually delivers 3 or 4 of them. And then he goes to his father after the game, and accidentally he sees his father having a meeting during that football game with a notorious drug dealer. And our kid realizes that the father is actually involved with, with drug cartels, and that's how the father operates. He actually has all those meetings with his associates, his criminal associates, during those football games. And so that would twist the story into the gangster saga instead of the sports drama or coming-of-age drama, and it will become an entirely different story. And again, now we will find out what happens next. We want to find out how it all turns out. So that's the beauty of the plot twist.
That will be downturn, catastrophe.
That would be downturn, or that would be the left turn in the form of the downturn, because we expect, we would not expect that, and all of a sudden it becomes an entirely different kind of story. So false premise and disproof, familiar situation or unfamiliar situation, and we could do this structure not only about what will happen, not only about events. We can apply the same structure to characters.